Today's episode of This Week in Startups is brought to you by Carbonite. Sign up for Carbonite and use the promo code TWiST to receive your special offer. And by MailChimp. Manage lists with up to 2,000 subscribers and send up to 12,000 emails per month for free with MailChimp.
Hey everybody, it's another episode of This Week in Startups. Today we have Martin Tobias, the founder of Tippr. Tyler's going to give us some insights, and we're just going to get into the whole group buying phenomenon, all that and more right now on This Week in Startups.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah, money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah, we ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.
Hey everybody, it's another episode of This Week in Startups. We're here again with you, our loyal fans, our listeners, and our producers, celebrating entrepreneurship and just learning how to build these companies. I mean, that is the premise of This Week in Startups. We talk about the startup process, we meet great entrepreneurs, and we ask them questions, and we discuss the news, and we all learn. And we've been doing it for 2 years. What an amazing experience this has been for me. I know also for Tyler to get to interview so many great people. I mean, what an amazing 2-year run it's been. Having a little juice there, I see.
I'm having a little of this new thing.
The juice. We just went for juice. I spilled it all over myself. I don't know. Can you see that in HD? Do you see the green here? Maybe. Maybe now that we're in
Turning
HD,
into
I
the
can't
Hulk,
spill. Yeah. But I down that, and I feel like I'm on fire.
It's unbelievable.
And this is all because of that documentary you saw.
Yeah.
What's it?
It's called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead.
Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead.
Unreal.
I feel like we need to start This Week in Documentaries and just me, you, and Lon. Just talk about one documentary a week. But anyway, Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. Here it is.
Watch it on Netflix streaming.
It's so funny because you saw it this weekend, and just like 2 nights ago, I saw it in my Netflix queue, and I just started watching the first 20 minutes of it, and so far so good. But
it starts off a little slow.
Right, just giving people a warning.
Yeah.
But anyway, they're not the sponsors of the program.
No.
We just thought we'd mention it.
No, it just changed my life.
in 48 hours.
No, but I've
You truly are a Santa Monica type Los Angeles nutty fruitcake. It's just whatever trend they put in front of you, you're like, these crystals,
I'm never
yoga.
I'm never on the trends.
You're never on the trends.
I don't do the yoga.
Hey, well, here's a trend. Go over and join the Backchannel program, the producers program, if you will. 100 people have joined. Go to twistlist.co, and you will have a better life. You'll get to hang out with a lot of cool people on the mailing list and help produce the show that you love and enjoy so much. Help pick the guests, help pick the topics, help write the questions. You really actually do participate in the production of the show.
And I tell you all about the juice I'm drinking.
And all the juice that Tyler's drinking. Get all that inside information. Literally on my BlackBerry, all day long, I'm getting like, I think I'm the last BlackBerry user on the planet, by the way. Why can't they make an Android phone or an iPhone with a keyboard that just works? Like a really good one. BlackBerry still, that's what BlackBerry should do, play to their strengths and just work on one thing, which is email and tweeting and typing, and making the ultimate fast device for that. And if you want something that's ultimately fast and secure and automatic, it's Carbonite. Backing up your files is critical. I've been using Carbonite for a while now. It's awesome. It's unlimited. It's fast. And as you know, to be a partner on the program, to be one of these great sponsors, it's sold. We're sold out to like September, October, I think, maybe November now. And it's because we only accept people who create great products that Tyler, myself, or Lon use. And Carbonite is one of those. Individual plans are available, as is the newly launched Carbonite for Business for as little as $229 a year. Carbonite Business backs up everything on as many computers as you have wherever they are. So if you're a small startup, just have your people put Carbonite on and then be done with it. I mean, you can use Dropbox, you can use floppy disk, all this stuff, but Carbonite's like that layer that you just know everything is backed up all the time because it runs in the background and it's flawless. It's flawless. You have to back up your files and your photos and all this kind of stuff. Don't risk it. And if you start with the code TWiST, use TWiST, and you'll get 2 bonus months with your purchase. Also, make sure you thank them. Just say thank you to Carbonite on Twitter and Facebook and all your other social networks.
That's really what helped kick all this off, by the way.
What's that?
I don't think people realize how important that was.
Oh yeah, getting people to thank people.
Yeah,
Because then
on
when the
Twitter.
sponsors like, oh wow,
This show wouldn't be half of what it was without that.
innovation.
Yeah.
That little
Yes.
tiny innovation or tweak
Yes.
that we did to say, hey, thank
Yes.
the sponsors. Because when they see 10 people thank them, they're like, oh,
Yeah.
people listen to the show. Oh, and these people have followers. And
Yeah.
if you can get people.
And they see that they're real entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
these are guys trying to do the startup thing and all that. So it's
Yeah.
not like,
Okay, so on the program today, we have Martin Tobias. Martin Tobias is the founder and CEO of Tippr, TIPPR.com. I've got it here on my screen. He was a VC at Ignition Venture Partners for 9 years. He's still a partner there and has made 5 principal and 45 angel investments, so he's an investor, as well as a serial entrepreneur. He did Loud Eye, which built the first backend for iTunes and Sirius Satellite Radio, and he grew that from 2 to 480 people over 2 years and raised $120 million with a $2 billion market cap. Before the bubble burst, so he's got some war stories and some scars. Tippr, founded in September and launched of 2009 and launched in February of 2010, it's the third largest group deal site behind LivingSocial and Groupon, and is the largest white label provider of group buying. He's got 120 people, with 70 of them in his Seattle office, some in Austin as well, and he's bought 5 companies and raised $9 million from RA Ventures in New York, great firm, and Vulcan Ventures. You might know Vulcan Ventures because that's Paul Allen's venture firm. And importantly, we'll get into this because patents are a very hot button issue. He owns all the patents from the Mercata, which is an e-commerce startup portfolio, which was backed by Paul Allen and failed back in 2001. Martin Tobias, welcome to the program.
Hi, thanks, Jason.
Okay, can't hear Martin.
No.
Let's try one more time. Martin, welcome to the program.
Hi, thanks, Jason. Can you hear me
Still
now?
can't hear him? Ah, there we
there
go.
we go.
We can hear you
Hello,
now.
can you hear me now?
We can
I'm
hear you
plugging
now,
to the side.
Martin. Welcome to the program, Martin.
Thanks.
And you're in Seattle or Austin now?
I'm actually at a conference. I'm in San Francisco today.
In San Francisco. I see people keep walking behind you. Are you in the lobby of your hotel?
Yeah, no, I'm in a private conference room, but it's the working room for the conference. It's the BIA Kelsey Daily Deal Conference. So all the Daily Deal people are here, spouting and pontificating about the business.
Yeah, so what drew you to the Daily Deal business? You entered the market after Groupon and or so. What drew you to it?
Well, as a startup entrepreneur, I've always been really personally interested in solving a particular problem and started a business to do that. My sort of mantra as a entrepreneur is find a hard problem that personally pisses you off and then solve it. And in this case, I used to own a bar in Seattle called the Showbox and live music club.
Showbox
I don't know if
Theater?
you've been there. Yeah, Showbox Theater.
Yeah, I've played there. Yeah, it's a nice venue.
Oh yeah, it's great. Yeah. Actually, we turned it into a live music venue after it had been a comedy club for a while.
Yeah.
Anyway, I ran it for like 7 years, and I have a lot of friends in the bar and restaurant business. And in 2008, 2009, this economic slowdown, there were real problems. Most of my friends' businesses were down about 30%, and there was real confusion in them as to what they could do to get people to walk in the door. And traditional media, newspaper, radio, and all that stuff just really wasn't working for them, and they were faced with a whole bunch of different options on the social media, AdSense, Bing, everybody, and they really couldn't figure it out. And all they cared about was not a new advertising platform, but a new way to just get people to walk in the door. And when I saw what Groupon was doing, I said, that really solves the problem, which it provides consumers offers which they want, advertisements which they volunteer to get, plus it gets people in the door on a variable cost basis with really no effort on the business side. And so when I decided that was sort of the tool that I wanted to do, I said, well, I'm going to write the platform sort of white label version of that versus trying to compete on the consumer brand side with Groupon and enable everyone who wants to compete with Groupon. But what got me into the business was personally my friends running restaurants, confused about how to drive people in their front door and leverage online to offline.
So unlike Groupon, you make your business by powering other people's
Yes.
group buying sites. So if I want to have a group buying site and I'm who would use this?
Well, we've got over 90 publishers today. We operate the largest network of group buying sites. Some of our customers are NBC. We run their deal site, which is called The Goods. We run the deal site for Fox Television, for Hearst, for Belo Television. We operate the first and only daily deal site for the Hispanic market in conjunction with Univision, which is called Ufertis. So if you're a brand, you're a media company, either an internet publisher or a traditional publisher, and you want to be in the deal business and continue to own that brand and those consumer relationships and those advertiser relationships, you can do that on our SaaS platform, and you don't have to give away your audience or advertisers to a third-party brand.
And that really is where this advertising money is coming from, isn't it? It's the newspapers who used to get local advertising. It's the yellow pages. They're the ones who are losing out as Groupon and LivingSocial. Salespeople go into local businesses and say, hey, we want your budget from X local paper. We want your budget from the yellow pages.
Exactly.
You're basically telling the newspapers or the local news at night, hey, if you're going to lose your advertising base to Groupon, you need to be competitive and come in there and drive customers to this local car wash, drive customers to this local cafe, or drive customers to this local dry cleaner.
Yeah, absolutely. The local media companies have, used every effort they can to miss every technology trend that has come along. I mean, you know what Craigslist did to the classified business and so on. But fortunately or unfortunately, now they realize that they actually have to adopt new technologies and participate in some of these new trends, or they're going to get left even further behind. And group buying, and Groupon in particular, is the biggest threat to local media companies because it disintermediates not only the audience, but also the advertiser from that media company. And there's no reason for it to happen when there's a software provider like us that can keep them in the business and keep their audience engaged.
And the New York Times even has, I guess, a TimesLimited product now that doesn't look very good, and it's sort of buried on their site. Why has the New York Times gone sort of half-hearted into this? I don't think anybody even knows that they have this product. But you go to the New York Times and you're on their website, and you have these, I guess, banner ads that they sell to Gucci or whoever. But why wouldn't they have just a huge box here that says, today do X or Y? Instead, they've got it buried here that you'd never see it. How do they get it so wrong?
Well, I think traditional media companies have gotten a lot of things wrong many times. And unfortunately, this deal program is kind of competing for inventory with their traditional display ad inventory. So if, like New York Times, they have a deal program, but they're hiding it because they think it competes with their traditional display ad inventory, which in a sense it does, but it is just another way for them to monetize their audience and to provide value to their users. But they haven't, I don't think in the New York Times' case, completely bought off on the idea. If you look at somebody else, for example, like Yollar, if you go to Yollar, YOLLAR.com, that's a site we power, and it is a corporate brand that's run by Belo Television. Belo owns 19 TV stations, affiliates of all different networks. And so you see there, they've co-branded it in the local city with their local station, WFFA. And so if you go to WFFA as well, you see a lot of in-house inventory on WFFA.com, which points you back to Yollar. And I think they've done a pretty decent integration where they've dedicated, some real estate and, some ad inventory to make the properties work well together. I don't know what it is on there. But, as a media company, you can either integrate a deal thing well, like Yollar has, or poorly, like the New York Times has.
And so how do you charge people for this?
It's all a rev share, which is a great thing in this business. So we just take a percentage of the transaction. There's no setup fees. There's no minimum commitments. It's all marginal revenue to the publisher.
And can anybody really compete with the scale that Groupon and LivingSocial have? I mean, their penetration is, 50, 100 million, 150 million emails and accounts, and the United States. I mean, is anybody ever going to catch up to those two, in your opinion?
I don't believe that someone will catch up in terms of building another consumer brand, which is why when I started the company, I decided to not start a consumer brand. I mean, between all my startups over the years, I've raised over $500 million and been in capital-intensive business, in brand-building businesses. In this case, I decided to be a software business because I didn't want to compete with that consumer brand. I don't think anyone will compete with for the deal brand. But what I do know is that the total web traffic outside of Groupon and LivingSocial is, 1,000,000 times more than what's on their sites. If you look at what Facebook is doing, for example, you go, great, Groupon's got 80 million subscribers, Facebook's got 750 million. How many does Google have? How many does Bing have? And publishers like your TV station, they have traffic, they have audience, they have salespeople, and their customer acquisition cost is much lower than Groupon's. If you looked at Groupon's numbers in their IPO, they're losing money because they have to spend a lot of money on new customer acquisition and reducing churn, and they have a giant fixed cost sales force. A publisher, a traditional media company, their customer acquisition cost is far lower because they already have an audience. So they can actually make this model work on a much lower capital expenditure basis because they're not having to build an independent brand. And we really think the next leg up, the next sort of penetration of group buying is enabling all those people that already have an audience.
And what about the burnout that's occurring amongst the local businesses? Obviously, you hear about the fringe cases where people say, oh my God, I got too many customers, like, sort of high-class problem, and everybody's sort of trying to come up with the con to the success of Groupon and LivingSocial and the group deal space. I don't really buy that, but is there an issue of too many people are knocking on the doors of local businesses today?
Absolutely. Local businesses have been absolutely swamped by Groupon and Groupon-like, competitors. Every business I talk to is like, I don't need to be called by another one of these guys. In some cities, there are 20, 30 deal sites trying to call on merchants. And the interesting thing that we have by going to market through a traditional media company that's in that market, like the television station, they have credibility, they'll get the offer, they'll get the meetings, they already have probably a media relationship with that merchant, and they're able to stay in the deal business in the way that a new startup is not able to do.
And as the economy recovers, I guess the next, I'm going down sort of the list of objections and the concerns in the industry. There's that sort of deal burnout, which I think you addressed quite nicely. Hey, if I'm the New York Times or I'm the New York Post or I'm the San Francisco Chronicle, I should already have a relationship with, or somebody in the building should have a relationship with the local pizzeria or dry cleaner. But now, what about the consumers? The economy getting better for some portion of consumers, and the need for discounts. Maybe people are not feeling as deal sensitive, so maybe they don't need deals as much, and they won't seek them out as much as they did maybe during the Great Recession.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to put it, the Great Recession. We actually see, people using daily deals more as a form of discovery of interesting things to do in their city versus pure deals. Groupon has certainly tried to educate their entire populace that all you should care about is price. The interesting thing we've seen some publishers do is really turn daily deals into a form of discovery of your local environment. We have a publisher down in Austin called Austin 365, and she's a blogger that writes, one of these 365 blogs, interesting things to do in Austin every day. And when she runs a deal, which she does only once a week, because she has editorial credibility and because she has, a history with her audience of recommending good and fun things to do, people buy that at a much higher rate, and they see that as a service she's providing to them, pointing out an interesting place, and by the way, it's on a deal. So it's really a form of editorialization and discovery. And I think that that's the future of daily deals, is putting them in context and putting some editorial credibility around them, which is something that's going to be very hard for Groupon to do, something which these local publishers can do very easily. And that's why those publishers will continue to be sticky and, provide a good business for their consumers and the merchants.
Will newspapers and editorial folks, this is a local blogger, so maybe she's willing to blend editorial and blend commerce. The New York Times would never do this.
They
The
won't.
Wall Street Journal will never do that. They'll never blend and say, David Pogue loves this gadget, we are going to sell it at a discount. Or Walt Mossberg. I mean, I don't think they would even quote, I wonder if they would, if they got a local restaurant and the restaurant critic loved it, would they even allow them to quote it, or would they feel that was blurring the lines? How often does that come up?
I think on the national brands, sort of the New York Times type of scale, they would not want to do that. I think when you get down to a lot of these local media companies, especially the internet bloggers, I think they don't have a problem with it, and they see it as a service to their subscribers.
Should they have a problem with it? Is it a valid concern to say the editorial is being driven by the commerce opportunities? So, hey, we went to 10 restaurants, only 2 of them would do a deal. Therefore, we're going to feature them editorially and for the deal, and those other 8 are going to get left out? Or is that too nuanced an argument for the local blogger or their audience?
I think it's too nuanced of an argument. If you keep the deal program in perspective, if you primarily do content like Christy does at 365, and the deal program is really a value add and a service she's providing to merchants and customers, then the perspective is correct. If you are using content as an SEO link bait or something to get people to buy your deals, people figure that out pretty quickly and realize that you're not providing real editorial content. I mean, if Christy in 365 recommends a place, deal or not, that turns out to be crap and no good, her readers are not going to trust her anymore. So it's really, I think she's found the right balance. There are certainly ways you could have the wrong balance there.
What is the right percentage for deals? Groupon has insisted on 50% off, I think is their sort of standard with most merchants. And they take half of that money, half of the half, as their fee for this coupon or promotion, leaving only 25 cents on the dollar for the poor local business, which is their big complaint, like, hey, I'm losing money on every customer here, and they're not coming back.
Right.
Is that sustainable? Is that the main issue in the business, is that the deals were too good in the beginning and the expectation has been set too high?
Well, the reason you're seeing a 50% off retail thing is not any expectation of daily deals or anything particular to what we're doing. It really has to do with consumer behavior. What you're trying to do is spur an impulse purchase. And if you see 20% off, you're not going to take that impulse purchase. Really, a deal needs to be 50% off to get a person to click or to buy. You look at all the consumer behavior activity. If it's not that aggressive, people just simply don't buy it. So that's why the discount off retail is set at around 50, and I think that'll stay there. What will not be sustainable is Groupon's tax on the business of 50% of that. I think that margin will go down. I think merchants are realizing that they have more power because, in fact, it's their inventory that they're providing. And, terms are going to get better in the daily deal business for merchants in terms of their revenue share, also in terms of the payments. One of the things I think you've seen, Groupon holds merchant money for up to 90 days. When they sell something for the merchant, they keep the credit card and they don't pay the merchant for 90 days later. Google came into the market and says, we're going to pay the merchant 80% in 4 days because we don't need the cash flow float that Groupon has and actually needs. If you took the float out of Groupon's cash flow, they would be out of business. And I think they have set themselves up in a way that is pretty unsustainable, but that other publishers and other players, will fix some of those issues and get more money in the merchant pockets and get some loyalty there. For example, our platform has some ways that we provide merchants a loyalty platform to communicate with customers after they sell them a deal. Groupon doesn't have that because, in fact, Groupon doesn't want the consumer going back to the merchant. They want the consumer going back to Groupon to buy the next mani-pedi from Groupon. So, software providers like us are working on solutions to really engender merchant loyalty versus brand loyalty to the deal provider.
So you wouldn't be opposed to them getting a copy of the email address if the person opted into it?
No.
Whereas Groupon sees it as, hey, that's our customer. We're just loaning them to you. You have to get their email when they come to your location.
Exactly. So Groupon's doing some things that I think are unsustainable.
Yeah. When we get back, I want to dig a little bit more into Groupon and where you feel that business is going, and as well as talk about the patents that you have acquired and if you plan on using them, and if so, how. One thing that I can tell you absolutely should use is MailChimp. MailChimp.
We are using MailChimp today.
You use MailChimp.
We already use MailChimp, and I'm glad they're your sponsor because we love MailChimp.
And this is the great thing. I mean, it's like, okay, I'm done. There's the ad. Boom. It happens every show. Almost every guest. I go, hey, thank you to MailChimp.
There hasn't been one yet that you asked that said no.
It's like every single person's like, oh yeah, of course we use MailChimp.
Yeah.
Because it's like the industry standard, because it works buttery and beautifully. MailChimp. Done. It's like, it's not even an advertisement, it's just a celebration of the awesomeness that is MailChimp. But anyway, I do have to give you a couple of facts because I feel like if they're sponsoring the show and they make this great content available, we need to at least tell you a couple of things about the product.
I think people need to realize, I think more interestingly is why he uses it.
Yeah, why do you use it?
We use MailChimp because their API just rules. It's super easy. It's written for people that write in Ruby and Python, so they're really well documented, and the scalability of the delivery platform is really good. And basically, there's a scale of low-end email providers and really high-end guys like ExactTarget. And I think MailChimp has got a real sweet spot in the middle where they provide an incredibly good value for the price and a very high level of service. They're not the most expensive, they're not the cheapest, but they're the best value and easiest to integrate with.
Over and over again. It's like the steady, solid brand. You don't feel like you're getting ripped off, and you don't feel like you're going to have a problem and not have anybody to talk to. It's appropriately priced. It's value for dollar. The free plan is always free. Up to 2,000 subscribers and 12,000 emails a month is free. So you have no reason not to try it. And I believe every individual should maintain their own mailing list.
That's what
just like everybody has a Twitter account. Every individual,
when I asked
every restaurant.
about why he used it, I would thought what I meant was more along those lines.
Yeah, but every individual should have one. Like, literally, if you're starting your career on your blog, on your Twitter account, you should have a mail list. Keep in touch with me, my mail list. And then once every month or two, just send something out. Update about me. It's got the unsubscribe link. If people don't want it, whatever. But at least when you need a new job, or you've got some new project you're doing, or you have an idea, you can email your constituents, your friends. And it still trumps everything. People may be switching from MySpace to Facebook and now Google Plus and Twitter, and people just are transient across the social networks. I'll tell you the thing that stays the same for life.
Email.
Your goddamn email address. You got it right, Tyler. You goddamn got it right again. That's why I love you, Tyler. So goddamn smart. Email for life. That's mine. Right here, man. It's my MailChimp. It works. Yeah. All right. So now let's talk about patents. I mean, it's a little bit of a controversial subject with all the patent lawsuits going on around mobile. You have a collection of patents from Mercata. Where did they come from? What are they? Why did you acquire them?
Yeah. Well, when I've done this startup rodeo more than once, and when I decided to enter the group buying,
I think volume's a little low, guys.
Is that better?
Yeah, there we go. Start again.
Okay, got to get my microphone.
Yep.
When I've done this rodeo more than once, so when I decided to enter the group buying space, I decided to do two things right out of the gate. One was to take a different approach to the market by providing a white label sort of platform approach versus a consumer brand, be the software sort of picks and shovel guy. The second thing, as I said, this isn't that difficult stuff. We need some intellectual property protection to protect the parts of that we're going to do different than anybody else, because there's going to be a rush and land grab, and people are going to try to copy all sorts of stuff. So I looked around at who had done this before in the last bubble, sort of the last thing. And Mercata, frankly, was the first company to try to do group buying at scale. I don't know if you remember them, but back in 99 and 2000, Paul Allen put $90 million into them. They were the same size as Amazon. They were on file to go public for an IPO. They did, $250 million of revenue in 2000. They were basically doing group buying for, TVs and VCRs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they were just using email. Fast forward, and they were doing physical distribution and trying to build out their own warehouses. Fast forward to today about what's different, and we're doing digital distribution. You've got a lot of social networks to map your social friends on, and more than just email to distribute things. So now's the time for group buying. But I went to Paul Allen, who I knew because I was at Microsoft before, and I said, "What are you doing with that IP?" And he said, "Nothing." And I said, why don't you give it to me? Because I'm starting a company that could use it. He says, okay. So, I bought them, but they are the foundational patents for the whole concept of, managing groups and group buying on the internet.
Hey, and here's one right now on my screen, guys. And this is I guess what we call a business process patent.
These are business method patents, yes.
Business methods. Now, some people say business method patent is nonsense. They're not protectable.
Sure.
They're getting overturned. What do you say to those people?
I say they should read the Supreme Court ruling, which decided this issue about 6 months ago. And the Supreme Court ruling was given that exact decision, and they said no, business method patents are in fact valid, patentable material. There are certain tests you have to meet to be unique and be patentable, but they did not throw out wholesale business methods as a patentable subject matter, which some thought they should have done, but they have affirmed the patentability of business methods.
So people have haggled for all time. Mm-hmm. People have, I'm sure, before the invention of the internet, gone and said, hey, if the 5 of us buy a cow, can we get a discount? You would agree?
Absolutely.
And so at what point does the fact that people in medieval times may have, bought in cooperatives, bought as a group, at what point in that process do you feel it becomes patentable?
Well, I mean, the patentability of an element like this has to do with the environment and the technology that you're trying to patent. So we're not patenting the obvious idea of haggling. That would be non-patentable. But the non-obvious idea of how you haggle computer to computer and using the internet and APIs and servers and all of those complicated things on your diagram, that is the process that is patentable. When you implement an idea in a new technology or a new embodiment, that embodiment is potentially patentable, and that's what we have in this case. It's only group buying on the internet. If you were to get 5 of your friends together and go into, Subway and get a discount because you have 5 friends, my patent doesn't cover that. But if you are to negotiate the demand and the supply and modify the price curve and use databases and algorithms to optimize the pricing yield and things like that over the internet between connected devices in a network of group buying demand, supply and demand, that is a patentable subject matter, which is what we have.
Do you feel that Groupon or LivingSocial are violating your patents or using your patented technology?
I appreciate the question, and I'm unfortunately not able to comment on those two. I have filed enforcement actions on 13 other companies that do not include those companies.
And when did you file this action, and what has the result of it been?
So I filed it in January of this year. It's Buy With Me and a lot of the other white label providers, because what I'm most interested in is people replicating my platform approach. I'm not really as interested in the consumer brands, but the case is continuing. It's ongoing, and I can't really comment on any of the details of it, but I do have active enforcement actions of those things. But I'm not primarily a patent troll at all. I'm just trying to run a business and trying to keep people from copying my ideas when I run my business. And I know that you have an opinion about the value of IP in general. I actually think IP can be good for startups because, so many ideas are copyable with startups. If you have an idea and you work hard to get it into market and somebody can copy it and offer it at a lower price with no repercussions, that's a real damper on, the return on my efforts. So I'm happy that I do have some element of patent protection to, keep the worst or most egregious offenders from ripping off, our ideas.
And so to be clear, the issue isn't necessarily with group buying, but perhaps running a network of group buying sites and negotiating and doing that handling and handoff between the APIs and okay, we've had this much demand, so the discount comes down this much, et cetera.
Right. And, doing things like aggregating demand from multiple places, that's one of the key patents that we have. So you can take 3 people from an Ufertis site and 5 people from an NBC site and 8 people from a Fox site and qualify for a larger discount because you've aggregated demand across multiple network providers. That's something that Groupon's not doing, that LivingSocial's not doing, that we are doing as a white label platform provider, and that we definitely want to see protected.
How long do these business patents last?
20 years.
20 years. And how many years into it are you now?
About 10 into most of them.
So your goal is to, I guess, as a patent holder, reach scale, protect yourself for a decade, and hopefully you have a big enough market share that you don't have to worry about it when the patent expires.
Well, exactly. And that's the whole idea of intellectual property protection, is not to give an infinite protection, but to give, the inventor a window within which to monetize and get paid back for their hard work and their invention. And that window's 20 years. And, for me in the internet, 20 years is kind of forever. So if I can't get it figured out by then, all bets are off.
Question from our executive producer, Amir. He wonders what you think of deal aggregators like Yippit or Youpon.
Yeah. Deal aggregators are providing a valuable service in the deal landscape. And, to deal with fatigue or, user interface or selection, there are over 500 deal sites in the United States, and in some cities there's 20 or 30 of them, and nobody wants to get 20 or 30 emails. Yippit does something good, which is lets you go in there and say, I'm interested in restaurant deals or spa deals or these kind of, and create a little filter, and then they only send you deals that you're interested in. I think aggregators are going to provide an important function in the daily deal marketplace.
Google, Facebook, Amazon, eBay. Obviously, we've discussed a little bit today them coming into the deal space. Who do you think will be the most successful?
I think the biggest threat to Groupon and LivingSocial, being proprietary brands that have to spend all their own money to build their own brand, are publishers like those guys. I'm partners with all those people that you mentioned. I'm providing them in different cases technology and or deals, and they already have scale of audience. I think they're all threats to Groupon, but I think they're all incredibly good opportunities for consumers, because now, like if you look at what Facebook did in their deal program, the Lexi from Facebook just spoke at the conference this morning, and we're a partner with them. What they did is they took deals and made it a native Facebook experience using the Facebook wallet. So rather than clicking out to a third-party site, having to register and put your credit card in somewhere else and whatever, you can now buy deals native to Facebook with one click. They took 8 clicks out of the purchase process, and that's just better for consumers. The other thing they did is use their internal, targeting engine to surface up deals that are incredibly relevant. And because it's using the entire Facebook data corpus, they're able to target deals in a way that an outside third-party provider could never target them. So they've actually added an incredible amount of relevancy to consumers and ease of use to the deal purchasing thing. And I think people, big portals that focus on doing that, are going to be incredibly successful in the deal business.
And so we talked a little bit about Groupon, a lot of criticism of their business model, a lot of criticism of their financials. The biggest being, wow, massive customer acquisition cost. Is this sustainable? Do you think that they will be able to remove that massive customer acquisition cost as they become, a very well-known global brand?
No.
Okay. And if they don't, some people say the business is insolvent. So by saying no, are you in fact saying you think Groupon will be insolvent?
An insolvent Groupon would not be good for the overall business, the category, right? But, like I said before, if very small tweaks to Groupon's business turns Groupon insolvent. For example, if they had to pay their merchants in 4 days instead of 90 days, they would be insolvent. The second thing is, if you look at their 80 million subscribers, only 15 million of them have purchased. So they've spent a lot of money on customer acquisition for customers that are never ever going to buy from them. and the numbers that they have to acquire to continue to fill the churn is incredibly high. The second thing is you look at the use of proceeds that they're getting from their IPO. I mean, the founders of the company have taken $340 million already off the table. And of the $750 million potential IPO proceeds that they have, something like $400 million of it is secondary, investors selling only $350 million going into the company. They burnt $200 and something million in Q1. If they only put $350 million of new money on the balance sheet with the IPO, they're only putting 2 quarters worth of burn on the balance sheet. That's not. I mean, I read your recent post about a startup and how much money you should have, and you said 18 months. They don't even have 18 months on their balance sheet.
Right.
Right?
It's kind of challenging, I would agree.
It's challenging, and the numbers are pretty huge at that case, right? I mean, you hit the wall really fast.
Yeah. So you went through, you yourself hit the wall, did you not, in the last dot-com bubble?
Well, yes. Yes and no.
So you know of what you speak?
I know of what I speak, yes.
So if you were the CEO of Groupon magically overnight, Martin Tobias, what would you do?
I would tell my investors to stick tight, and I would have a larger IPO and put all the money into the company, and I would reduce my customer acquisition costs by trying to partner with publishers. But they're never going to do that.
And the reason they're not going to do that is?
Well, because they're, fundamentally in love with building their brand. And I don't think they're a technology company. Their primary asset's a talking cat, okay? They're not a technology company. They're a brand company. And to switch a company from a brand company to a technology company is too hard to switch, number one. Number two, you've got a ton of investors there who put a ton of money in at a high valuation, and they want their money back. I don't think if you're the CEO in that case, you have the ability to convince your investors to not sell at the IPO. And I also know that of what I speak because my last company was Imperium Renewables, which I created a biodiesel company, built the biggest biodiesel company in the United States. And I had to raise $240 million. And by the time I got it ready to go public, we were on file to go public with Morgan and Lehman. I had so many investors and such a preference stack ahead of me that I owned, less than 10% of the company. So in fact, the investors were in control of the company, not the CEO. And there were decisions made in the investor interest, not the company interest at that time. And unfortunately, I think Groupon may be somewhat susceptible to that right now, is that their corporate strategy is being driven by the needs of their investors for liquidity versus the needs of the business.
If they only have 3, 6, 9 months of runway, do you see a scenario where they are playing a high-stakes game of chicken, having turned down Google's offer, now going public, and essentially a Facebook, Microsoft, Yahoo, Groupon, or Google acquisition takes place right before the IPO or right after?
I would be astounded, and if that happened, and I'd be happy to put a sizable side bet with you on that. If
All right,
anything
there
like
we go.
that
I don't know that it's going to happen, but I don't think that
it.
There are people who are enamored with the business, and you did say the top cost is the customer acquisition. So Groupon plus somebody with 0 customer acquisition cost, a la Google, a la Facebook, I think becomes a potent.
What about Groupon Now?
Groupon Now?
Groupon Live, Groupon Now, the mobile.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on the mobile deal space?
The real-time.
The real-time deal space.
First of all, those results are not meaningful in the overall business. If you look in their P&L, you can't find a Groupon Now line. That's because they're not selling any of those.
Yeah.
You suffer from the other problem. There's too much inventory there, and it's all incredibly short term because Groupon Now is 50% off if you come in between 3 and 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and it only shows up between 3 and 6 o'clock. I think we've got a long way to go before the Now and the mobile deals. We have enough inventory and enough valuable stuff there to sell a meaningful amount of vouchers there. Right now, the mobile instant deals are not meaningful in anybody's P&L.
Which publisher do you covet most?
Well, some of them are probably. You mean which publisher that I don't have?
That you don't have? Yes. So sorry. Which one that you don't have would you most like to have?
Bing.
Who?
Bing.
Bing. Microsoft.
Yes.
And you're in Seattle, and you're formerly of Microsoft. You can't get that deal done?
I didn't say I didn't have the deal done. What I said is, which deal do I not have that I do not have publicly announced what I like to have?
Well, there you go. There's your exclusive, folks. Martin Tobias saying that he's landed Bing as a client. See, that's my backdoor. That's my clever way. That's my Charlie Rose way of getting an answer. Now, obviously you can't announce that you've signed Bing to a huge multi-billion-dollar deal, and they've bought.
He didn't.
No, and he didn't. He didn't announce that. But if he did announce something in the coming weeks, don't be surprised if it's Bing. Martin, what would you say is the hardest lesson you've learned as an entrepreneur?
The hardest lesson is how to hire your successor and how to pass something off without balls dropping. When I started Loud, I raised the first $120 million, took it public. I went from 4 to 480 people in 3 years. I didn't want to run a 480 person company, and I kind of fell susceptible to that. Now's the time to get adult supervision. Now's the time to get professional management in here. And we hired a guy who blew $100 million on BS between 2001 and 2002, which were the years you didn't really want to be investing at all on anything. You wanted to be sitting on your cash, and sort of hiring your successor or handing off something that you've created is the hardest thing for me, and I've screwed it up more than once.
Who's the entrepreneur that you respect most?
Entrepreneur that I respect the most. I think it's the guys over there at 37 Signals.
Really? Wow. Not Steve Jobs, not Larry Page, not Bill Gates. 37 Signals.
The current entrepreneur.
Oh, okay. So in your current crop.
My current crop would be the 37 Signals guys. If you say of all time, it's obviously Bill Gates.
Okay. But the 37 Signals team, Jason and David, why?
Yeah.
Why?
I think there's a lot of soul in their business. They're very personally, engaged. They're solving personal problems that turned out to be problems for a lot of people. They solve them in very elegant ways, very simple ways. They've got a good culture. They've not gone crazy with venture capital or fundraising. They've created a good, sustainable, profitable business that's useful to a lot of people. And the other thing is, they've done it for the other startups. And they're not just selling to the enterprise. Right. There's a lot of people that want to start a company, grow it to 20 people, sell it to an enterprise, and turn and go do something else. Those guys are in it, for the culture, for the long term, to run a business that helps people. And I really respect people who start companies like that. And I can't say the same, unfortunately, for a lot of the flying guys now. I don't think I can say the same about Groupon. I don't think you can say the same about a lot of the big names on the tech startup scene. Interesting.
And Jeff Bezos, you're a Seattle guy. What do you think of Jeff Bezos?
Jeff is great. He's a really good guy. The interesting thing, I wouldn't call Jeff and Amazon, an innovator type company. Well, some people, the cloud stuff and whatever, but they have never been on the leading edge of much. They haven't been on the leading edge of much of anything. They're a follower. They're a good execution company. Even when they buy they're not one of these companies that go crazy buying outlandish startups for big valuations. Their acquisitions are all, low EBITDA multiples, accretive to their current.
An intelligently run business.
It's an intelligently run business by sane people.
Yeah. Microsoft, share price doesn't move for a decade. I'm guessing you have a couple of shares yourself there, having worked there. What's wrong with Microsoft?
I wish I knew. I really do.
If you were in charge, would you split it up?
I don't know. I mean, I was there at the time when, Bill and Steve, well, Bill was really running it, and you had Bill in the office of the president running it, and you had, personal product reviews by Bill, and he was engaged in everything in the company. And Bill and Steve are two of the smartest guys I know on this planet. But I think it's just too darn big. And, with Bill not personally engaged anymore and Steve not fundamentally a product guy, it's kind of headless in terms of soul and direction. It doesn't have you need a product guy. And I would have thought Ray would have done that, but I mean, it didn't work out.
Yeah.
I think you need the thing to be run by a product guy. I mean, look at Apple. It's run by a product guy, right? I mean, Steve's a marketing guy.
Yep. So product-driven CEOs win.
Definitely.
Martin, you have been an amazing guest. Continued success with Tippr. Everybody go check out TIPPR.com. Everybody follow Martin at Martin G. Tobias on Twitter. And if you are looking for a job and you're a developer and you want to work for a great company, I'm going to guess he's Martin at Tippr.com. Is that right?
That's right.
So if you are a world-class, this is my way of kissing up to the guests. See, I know his pain point. His pain point is everybody's pain point. He needs a developer. So I just tell everybody, that's the payback for being on the show, is I get you a couple developer resumes. Not bad, huh, Martin?
All right, thanks. I would appreciate that. And next time, I know I missed you when you came up to Seattle to play a little poker, but when you're up there again, let's play a few hands.
Oh, awesome. Okay, we'll definitely set up a game when I'm up there for Open Angel Forum and for the Techstars run by Andy Sack, great guy. Really great blossoming tech scene in Seattle.
Yeah, he does a really good job.
Thanks a lot,
that.
Martin. Enjoy the rest of the conference, and thank you for being so honest on the program.
Okay, thank you.
Great guest.
Yep.
Great guest.
Yep. Yeah.
My expectation was low because I don't know him personally, and Tippr, is a software as a service company, so it's not Groupon, right? Big flashy.
I think that's part of the problem is these companies that aren't consumer facing, like Foursquare, that you don't hear of every day,
right?
That are in the background doing really cool stuff. Those are usually run by the guys who are kind of keep quiet anyways.
Yeah. But actually gave a pretty good defense of his business patent. I don't exactly agree with, and I think I pushed him enough to get the information out of him without getting him to freeze up. I mean, basically, I think his position is we don't want to be a-holes with our patents, but we do want this little narrow space. And if you want to operate in the group buying space, in a network of group buying sites that enables a bunch of people and does this handshaking between the sources of the deals, we want some protection. I don't agree that protection should be there, I'll be honest. I certainly don't think it should be there for 20 years. But, if it was for 10, I probably would not feel as bad about it.
Right.
And it's as you saw when I brought up the graph, that slide, it's not like he's trying to protect. People get sort of concerned, like, oh, is he trying to protect the idea of 10 people saying, I want a discount? No.
Right.
Nor would he be able to protect that. It has to be something very complicated, I think, in order for it to get protection. But
novel is the word they use.
I think very novel is very complicated would be the way of saying it as a individual. But clearly the patent office is just overwhelmed and underfunded.
Yeah.
And will never keep up with this space. It's a real issue. We should do an episode about patents. We've been thinking about doing this for a while.
I got the guy.
We got the guy. We're going to have it at some point. Hey, thanks to MailChimp and thanks to @Carbonite. Are they @Carbonite on Twitter? I don't know. Let me go check that. I just want to make sure I don't. Carbonite. Twitter on Carbonite. Yeah, they are. Okay, so everybody thank @Carbonite. What a great company. And everybody thank at MailChimp. And hey, that section where he talks about, hey, Carolyn and Tech Crew and producers, can we clip or just, give me that URL of the moment in the show in YouTube where he talks about Groupon being insolvent. And then let's post that to Hacker News and other places and launch even. CEO of Tippr says Groupon insolvent.
Well, no, he says it wouldn't be good for the whole ecosystem.
No, but
if
he
it
did say basically if they could be insolvent.
But if they were forced to change their terms.
So maybe the way to phrase it, I'm trying to phrase it in a link baiting way. Link baiting without being
the master link baiter.
Well, the thing is, you want to be link baiting without irritating. Link baiting without irritating. Like you don't want to feel duped. So I think maybe Tippr CEO explains how Groupon could become insolvent.
Master baiters know not to be
the master, the true master.
Yes.
link baiters.
Yeah.
No.
Are not abrasive.
No, but the masturbators know how to stroke the story. And get...
No, I don't want to do. We already
No,
did.
you want to figure out how to get the story to
Careful.
pop.
Careful.
That's what the master link baiters do.
Get people excited.
They know how to get people excited, and they know how to deliver
Right.
the story
Right.
with a certain panache.
Right.
See what I'm saying?
Careful, the tip jar's right.
I didn't say anything. You said masturbator.
You think because like that my insight about the abortion clinic, now you got free reign to go.
No,
on
no,
this.
no, no. That
Okay.
was unfortunate. I let that one go. But I was saying, this could wind up being that we have protests outside the
Right.
building. And I asked a couple of women, and they were pro-choice women, and they said, no,
Okay.
they were fine.
Good episode.
That was a great episode.
Yeah.
It was a great episode. All right, guys, if you really thought this was a great episode and you made it to the 55-minute mark, I mean, do I have to beg you to join the producer program already? For $20 a month, you're getting 8 episodes. It's like $2 an episode. If you watch one episode, it's worth $20. You guys go see that goddamn Green Lantern piece of crap. I heard. I didn't see it yet, but I heard it's terrible. But you're going to pay $20 to see that goddamn Transformers. $14 a ticket in 3D to see the Transformers. I saw the first 2. I feel like such an idiot. If I ever see Michael Bay, I'm going to... Anyway, you get the point. If you paid for Transformers, if you paid for Harry Potter, you pay for this goddamn show, I'm out here busting my ass. I'm doing 4 goddamn shows this week.
Come on.
4 shows.
I think you just.
Goddamn is not a curse.
Yeah, but you
And
did-
busting my ass is
you
not a
did-
curse.
No.
No,
Okay.
ass is fine. You're not. It's if it gets you an explicit
Okay.
in the thing. Go to twistlist.co and for the love of God, drop $20, not even dimes, $20, $50, $100 a month. Become a producer, get on the inside track, and support the goddamn program because it's expensive and getting more expensive. Now everybody wants a raise.
I see. By the way, .co seems to be blowing up.
.co got G.co.
Yeah.
Why hasn't Mo re-signed .co? I was there in the beginning. I got them that Google deal. I didn't get them the Google deal.
Twitter and Google.
Yeah, come on now. .co must be flush with cash. They got like a... Can we get another ad buy out of .co for the fall? Come on, Mo. We love the .co guys. Anyway, we'll see you all next time on This Week in Startups. Bye-bye.
Funny how it feeds my people. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah, money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah, we ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. It's been a minute, so you thought you were safe. You trapped behind these bars like you locked in a cage. Stuck behind bars, making minimum wage. Your bar's tender. Here's a tip, get you a raise. Ain't nobody gonna offer a profit to motherfuckers who ain't rocking it, topping the hip hop charts and then stopping it. Quick to drop a set opposite of the hottest shit, copping it. It's the profit kit. Moments quick to accomplish. I'm positive. Getting green like a roster with a lot of dread. Money's piling up like the Washington Monument. The way I'm steering this track, it'll make you car sick. The only time you gonna see green is when you barfing. I'm the Mothman, consider this the prophecy. I'm in it to win it, that's why I'm making a profit, see. And I won't spend it till my rich is stupendous. And I'm selling sicker than tech is the method, is to keep it independent. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah, money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah, we ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.